Dr. Taemin wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully examined the crystal formation in front of him. The research station felt warm today, and the excitement in the air made everything feel electric. After 3 years of sending signals into space, they had finally gotten an answer. Not just any answer, but a visit from actual aliens. The Villani had arrived 2 days ago in a ship that looked like a floating diamond. Their bodies were made of what seemed like living crystal, and they moved with a strange musical sound. Dr. So-Ra, his research partner, had spent most of yesterday trying to figure out how to shake hands with beings made of rock and light. "The translation device is working perfectly," So-Ra said from across the room. She was setting up the cultural exchange display, arranging human artifacts next to the gifts the Villani had brought. "They seem very interested in our medical equipment." Taemin nodded and continued his work. The Villani had specifically asked to see how humans dealt with injury and sickness. It made sense. They were a peaceful people who had spent centuries perfecting the art of healing. Their own medical technology could fix almost any wound in seconds using some kind of crystal energy. The lead Villani, who called herself Dr. Hyojin, approached the display table. Her crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with a gentle breeze. "We are most curious about human biological repair systems," she said through the translator. "Our scans show you have very primitive healing methods compared to other species we have met." Taemin smiled politely. He had learned not to take offense when aliens called human technology primitive. Compared to faster-than-light travel and crystal healing, human medicine probably did look basic. "We do our best with what we have," he replied. "Our bodies are pretty good at fixing themselves, actually. It just takes time." Dr. Hyojin made a sound like small bells ringing, which the translator said meant curiosity. "Time is inefficient. Why would evolution create such slow repair when quick healing means better survival?" So-Ra joined the conversation, carrying a tray of human medical supplies. "Maybe our ancestors didn't need fast healing. Humans are pretty tough. We can keep going even when we're hurt." As she set down the tray, Taemin reached for one of the Villani crystal displays. The crystal formations were beautiful, with sharp edges that seemed to glow from within. He wanted to get a closer look at the internal structure. That was when it happened. The crystal edge was sharper than it looked. As Taemin lifted it, the edge sliced across his palm, opening a cut about 2 inches long. Blood immediately began to flow from the wound. "Oh, damn," he said, more annoyed than hurt. "Sorry about that. Let me just grab a bandage." But when he looked up, every Villani in the room had gone completely still. Dr. Hyojin was staring at his hand with what might have been horror. The other Villani were making sounds like breaking glass, which the translator couldn't seem to handle. Are you not going to heal that?" Dr. Hyojin asked, her voice pitched higher than before. Taemin looked down at his hand. Blood was still dripping, but the flow was already slowing down. "It'll stop bleeding in a minute. Takes a few days to heal completely, but it's not serious." The sound of breaking glass got louder. So-Ra quickly moved to Taemin's side with the first aid kit, but the Villani seemed fascinated by every move she made. "You are allowing the wound to remain open?" Dr. Hyojin asked. "The blood is still flowing. Are you not in distress?" "It stings a little," Taemin said honestly. "But it's just a cut. Here, let me clean it up." He ran his hand underwater from a nearby sink, washing away the blood. The Villani watched as if he was performing surgery. When he dried his hand with a towel, they could see the cut clearly. a clean line across his palm that was no longer bleeding but remained open. Sora opened the first aid kit and pulled out antiseptic spray. "This might sting a bit," she warned. When she sprayed the antiseptic on the wound, Taemin winced slightly but didn't make any other sound. The Villani made more breaking glass noises. "You are causing yourself additional pain?" Dr. Hyojin asked, sounding amazed. "It prevents infection," Sora explained as she applied a bandage. "The wound will close naturally over the next few days. The body will grow new skin to replace what was damaged." "Grow new flesh?" Dr. Hyojin repeated. "While you continue to function normally?" Taemin flexed his fingers, testing the bandage. "Sure, humans heal while we work. We don't need to stop everything just because of a small injury." He went back to examining the crystal display, being more careful this time. The Villani continued to stare at him as if he had grown a second head. "This is remarkable," Dr. Hyojin said to her companions in their own language. The translator picked up bits and pieces. "Impossible, primitive but functional, and biological defiance." Sora noticed their fascination. "Is something wrong? Do Villani heal differently?" Dr. Hyojin turned back to the humans. "When we are injured, our crystal matrix immediately repairs itself. The damage disappears in moments. We cannot function while injured. The pain would be overwhelming and the energy drain would be dangerous." "That sounds convenient," Taemin said. "But what if you get hurt in a situation where you can't stop to heal, like during an emergency or while protecting someone?" The concept seemed to confuse the Villani. They talked among themselves in rapid musical tones. "We would seek shelter and heal first," Dr. Hyojin finally said. "To continue functioning while damaged would be irrational." Taemin continued his work, moving specimens and taking notes. The Villani watched his every movement, paying special attention to how he used his injured hand. When he accidentally bumped the bandaged palm against a table edge, they all flinched. "Does the continued damage not anger you?" Dr. Hyojin asked. "Well, yeah, it's annoying," Taemin admitted. "But I'm not going to let a little cut stop me from doing my job." Something in his tone made the Villani go very quiet. They had heard something in his voice that the translator couldn't capture, a stubborn determination that seemed to puzzle them. "You heal through anger?" Dr. Hyojin asked carefully. Sora laughed. "Not exactly anger, more like refusing to give up. Humans are pretty stubborn about not letting things slow us down." The Villani exchanged what seemed like meaningful looks. Dr. Hyojin approached closer, her crystal body humming with some kind of internal energy. "We must study this further," she announced. "This biological response is unlike anything in our medical databases. You heal through determination rather than energy? You function while damaged rather than seeking immediate repair?" "I guess so," Taemin said with a shrug. "It's just what we do." As the day continued, more Villani arrived to observe the humans. Word had apparently spread quickly through their ship that the humans possessed some kind of impossible healing ability. They watched Taemin work with his bandaged hand, fascinated by his complete indifference to the injury. By evening, Taemin had forgotten about the cut entirely. But the Villani had not forgotten. They were sending urgent messages back to their homeworld, reporting their discovery of a species that healed through sheer stubborn refusal to be stopped by pain. None of them realized that this simple accident would soon change how the entire galaxy viewed humanity. 3 days had passed since Taemin cut his hand, and the research station had become busier than anyone expected. What started as a simple first contact mission had turned into something much bigger. Ships from different alien species were arriving every few hours, all wanting to see the humans who could heal through what the Vellani called biological defiance. Sora stood in the communications room, watching another ship dock with their station. This one belonged to the Kithara, a species that looked like walking flowers with too many eyes. Before them, the Zendari had visited, beings made of what seemed like liquid metal. All of them had heard about the human healing incident from the Vellani. "This is getting out of hand," Sora muttered to herself. Dr. Hyojin approached, her crystal body making soft musical sounds as she moved. Over the past few days, Sora had learned that different tones meant different emotions. Right now, the Vellani doctor sounded excited and worried at the same time. "The Galactic Medical Council has requested an emergency meeting," Dr. Hyojin announced. "They want to study human healing methods immediately. Some species are calling it impossible. Others think it might be dangerous." Sora sighed. "Dangerous? It's just normal healing. Every human heals this way." "That is what makes it so remarkable," Dr. Hyojin replied. "In all our records of biological life, no species continues full function while actively repairing cellular damage. Most beings must enter a healing trance or use energy projection to repair injuries instantly." Taemin walked into the room, still wearing the bandage on his palm. The cut underneath was healing nicely, but it would be several more days before it was completely closed. He had been examining samples all morning, completely ignoring his injury like it didn't exist. "More visitors?" he asked, seeing the new ship through the window. "The Kithara delegation," Sora confirmed. "They specifically requested to observe human healing in person." Taemin looked down at his bandaged hand and shook his head. "It's just a cut. I don't understand why everyone is so fascinated." Dr. Hyojin made the bell-like sound that meant deep curiosity. "Because you continue to use the damaged appendage. Because you show no signs of distress or energy drain. Because your biological systems are actively rebuilding tissue while you focus on other tasks." "Well, yeah," Taemin said. "What else would I do? Stop working until it heals? That would take days." The concept still seemed to puzzle the alien doctor. She had spent hours studying human medical data, trying to understand how their healing worked. According to her findings, humans didn't just heal slowly. They healed while remaining fully active and functional. Sora was preparing lunch in the small kitchen when the next incident happened. The cooking surface was running hotter than usual, and when she reached for a pot handle, her forearm brushed against the heated metal. "Ow!" she yelped, pulling her arm back quickly. The visiting Kithara delegates, who had been observing from nearby, immediately surrounded her with excited chittering sounds. Their flower-like heads turned toward her injured arm with all their eyes. "Focused! Another injury!" one of them said through the translator. "We can observe the healing process from the beginning." Sora looked down at her arm. A red mark about 3 inches long marked where the hot metal had touched her skin. It stung, and would probably blister, but it wasn't serious. "Great," she said sarcastically, "just what I needed." But instead of stopping to treat the burn, she continued preparing lunch. The aliens watched in amazement as she ran cold water over the burn for a few minutes, then simply continued cooking. "Are you not seeking medical treatment?" asked Dr. Hyojin. "It's just a minor burn," Sora replied, stirring the pot with her uninjured hand. "I'll put some cream on it later. It'll heal on its own." The Kithara began making rapid notes in their own language. Through the translator, Sora could hear fragments, continues task performance, no healing trance required, tolerates pain without distress. As the hours passed, more aliens arrived to witness what they were calling the human healing phenomenon. The station's common area began to look like a medical conference, with various species taking notes and discussing theories. Dr. Hyo-jin had developed what she called the spite hypothesis. She explained it to anyone who would listen. Observe their behavior, she said to a group of visiting doctors. When injured, humans do not seek immediate relief. Instead, they become more determined to continue their activities. It is as if the injury makes them angry, and this anger fuels the healing process. Sora overheard this and laughed. We don't heal because we're angry. We heal because that's what bodies do. But you heal faster when you are determined, Dr. Hyo-jin insisted. Our scans show that your cellular repair increases when you express defiance toward the injury. Taemin joined the conversation. Maybe we just don't like being slowed down by minor problems. Humans are pretty stubborn about finishing what we start. This seemed to excite the alien doctors even more. They began discussing the psychological aspects of human healing, theorizing that human emotions were somehow connected to their biological repair systems. The burn on Sora's arm was starting to blister, but she continued her normal activities. When one of the Kithara delegates asked her about the pain, she shrugged. It hurts a little, but I'm not going to let a stupid cooking accident ruin my day. I have work to do. The Kithara made excited noises and quickly recorded her statement. Apparently, the idea of refusing to let an injury ruin your day was revolutionary to them. Dr. Min-ho arrived that evening as part of a scheduled personnel rotation. He was a combat medic from the human military, and his hands showed the scars of many old injuries. When he shook hands with the alien delegates, they stared at his scarred fingers with fascination. Those marks indicate previous damage. Doctor, Hyo-jin observed, yet your appendages function normally. Min-ho looked down at his hands. Old cuts and burns from field work, they healed fine. Scars don't really affect function much. The idea that humans could accumulate permanent marks from injuries while maintaining full function seemed to amaze the aliens. In their experience, healing either restored perfect condition or required replacement of damaged parts. How many times have you been injured? Asked one of the Kithara. Min-ho thought about it. Hard to say. Probably hundreds of small cuts, burns, and bruises over the years. Maybe a dozen serious injuries. It's part of life. The aliens exchanged what seemed like alarmed communications. The idea that a being could survive hundreds of injuries was apparently shocking to them. And you continued functioning through all of these? Dr. Hyo-jin asked. Well, yeah. Most injuries aren't serious enough to stop working. You just keep going and let your body fix itself. As the day ended, Sora's burn had developed into a proper blister, but she had finished all her scheduled tasks. The alien observers took detailed notes about how she had continued normal activity while her body dealt with the tissue damage. Remarkable, Dr. Hyo-jin said to her colleagues. They heal through pure stubborn determination. Their bodies repair damage while they consciously ignore the injury and focus on other tasks. Taemin overheard and smiled. We prefer to think of it as being practical. Why waste time worrying about small problems when you have important things to do? The alien doctors were beginning to realize that human healing wasn't just different. It was based on a completely different philosophy, While most species saw injury as requiring immediate attention and rest, humans saw minor injuries as temporary inconveniences to be worked around. As more reports spread through the galactic communication networks, the research station prepared for even more visitors. Word was spreading that humans possessed a unique form of healing that defied everything the galaxy knew about biology and medicine. None of them realized that the real discoveries were just beginning. The research station had become the most talked-about place in the galaxy within a week. Ships from dozens of different species crowded around the small human outpost, and the communication channels buzzed with constant chatter about the impossible human healing phenomenon. Dr. Minho stood in the main conference room, surrounded by alien doctors and scientists who were still trying to understand what they had witnessed. His scarred hands had become something of a legend among the visitors. Every alien wanted to examine them and hear the stories behind each mark. "This one," he said, pointing to a white line across his knuckles, "was from fixing a broken piece of equipment under fire. Sharp metal edge. Bled for about 10 minutes, then scabbed over. Took maybe 2 weeks to heal completely." The assembled aliens made various sounds of amazement. Dr. Hyojin translated for those who couldn't use the universal translator. "You continued your task while bleeding?" asked a Nurali delegate. The Nurali were tall, peaceful beings who glowed with soft blue light. They were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced healing abilities and their complete rejection of violence. "Had to," Minho replied simply. "People were depending on that equipment. A little blood wasn't going to stop me from doing my job." The Nurali delegate made a sound like sad wind chimes. "This seems like needless suffering. Why not? Heal the wound immediately and then continue work?" "Because I can't heal immediately," Minho explained patiently. "Human bodies take time to repair damage. But we don't need to stop everything and wait for healing to happen." This concept was causing major debates among the alien species. The galaxy was dividing into different groups based on how they interpreted human healing. The Zephyrians were fascinated. They were a warrior culture that valued strength and endurance above all else. Their delegation had arrived 2 days ago, led by Commander Raxtar, a being that looked like a cross between a tiger and a suit of armor. "Your species fights through pain," Commander Raxtar said with obvious admiration. "This is the mark of true warriors. How do you train this ability?" "We don't train it," Sora replied from across the room. "It's just normal biology. All humans heal this way." The idea that all humans possessed what the Zephyrians considered advanced warrior abilities was causing excitement in their military ranks. They had begun making inquiries about hiring human soldiers and bodyguards. On the opposite side were the Nurali, who were horrified by what they saw as biological torture. To them, any healing process that involved continued pain was barbaric and wrong. "No civilized species should endure such suffering," declared Elder Nimara, the lead Nurali representative. "There must be a way to upgrade human biology to proper healing standards." Dr. Hyojin found herself caught in the middle of these debates. Her original spite hypothesis had evolved into something more complex as she observed more human healing incidents. "I believe the key is their emotional state," she explained to a mixed group of alien doctors. "When humans are injured, they do not become passive. Instead, they become more determined to accomplish their goals. This determination seems to activate their healing systems." Taemin was removing his bandage to show how the cut on his palm was healing. The wound had closed into a pink line, and new skin was growing to fill the gap. The aliens watched with fascination as he flexed his fingers, testing the new tissue. Still a little stiff, he said. "But it's getting better. Should be completely normal in a few more days." "The flesh grows back," whispered one of the Cathara delegates in amazement. "New tissue forms to replace what was lost." "That's how healing works," Taemin said with a smile. "Cells divide and multiply to repair damage. Basic biology. But to the aliens, this was anything but basic. Most species either healed instantly through energy manipulation or replaced damaged parts entirely. The idea of gradual tissue regeneration while remaining active was revolutionary. The debates were getting more intense each day. The Zephyrians wanted to recruit humans for their military forces. The Neurali wanted to provide humans with proper healing technology to end their suffering. Other species were simply trying to understand how human healing was even possible. Dr. Minho decided to demonstrate something that might help clarify the situation. He asked for a small knife from the medical supplies. "What are you doing?" Dr. Hyojin asked, alarmed. "Showing you how humans really think about injuries," Minho replied. He made a small, shallow cut on the back of his hand. Blood immediately began to flow. Every alien in the room went silent. Some of them made distressed sounds. "Why did you damage yourself?" Elder Nimara asked, sounding horrified. "To make a point," Minho said calmly. He pressed a clean cloth against the cut to stop the bleeding. "This injury will heal in a few days. During that time, I'll continue all my normal activities. The cut won't stop me from working, eating, sleeping, or anything else." He removed the cloth. The bleeding had already stopped, and the edges of the cut were beginning to come together. "You see this as normal?" Commander Raxtar asked. "Completely normal," Minho confirmed. "This is how every human on Earth lives. We get small injuries all the time. We heal and move on." The demonstration sparked new discussions among the aliens. Some were impressed by Minho's casual attitude toward self-injury. Others were concerned about what seemed like reckless behavior. Sora joined the conversation, unwrapping the burn on her arm to show its progress. The blister had formed and was now starting to heal, new skin growing underneath the damaged layer. "The interesting thing," she said, "is that we're not trying to heal faster or slower. Our bodies just do what they do, and we work around it." "But you heal faster when you are angry or determined," Dr. Hyojin insisted. "Our measurements confirm this." Sora thought about it. "Maybe we do, but it's not conscious. If I'm busy with important work, I might not notice pain as much. If I'm frustrated about being hurt, maybe that affects my body chemistry somehow." This sparked intense interest among the alien scientists. The idea that unconscious emotions could influence biological processes was a new concept for many species. "So, human healing is controlled by the mind?" asked one of the Cathara. "Not controlled exactly," Taemin said. "More like influenced. If we're determined not to let an injury slow us down, maybe that determination helps somehow." The aliens began developing new theories about the connection between human psychology and biology. Some suggested that humans had evolved a unique mind-body connection that allowed emotional states to enhance healing. As the day ended, more ships arrived at the station. The Galactic Medical Council had declared the human healing phenomenon a priority research topic. Scientists from across the galaxy wanted to study what they were calling psychosomatic regeneration and therapeutic stubbornness. Dr. Minho looked at the small cut on his hand, which was already showing signs of healing. In a few days, it would be just another tiny scar among many others. To him, it was completely unremarkable. But to the aliens watching, it represented a fundamental challenge to everything they thought they knew about biology, medicine, and the nature of life itself. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humans weren't just different. They were impossibly, fascinatingly, stubbornly different in ways that defied scientific explanation. Word was spreading to every corner of known space. There was a species that healed through pure determination and refused to let injuries slow them down. Some called it evolution. Others called it madness. The humans just called it Tuesday. Dr. Hyo-jin had spent 2 weeks developing her theory, and now she was ready to present it to the Galactic Medical Council. The research station's main conference room had been converted into a lecture hall with representatives from 47 different species attending either in person or through holographic projection. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," she began, her crystal body resonating with the formal tones of scientific presentation. "I present to you the spite hypothesis, a comprehensive theory explaining human biological regeneration." The room fell silent except for the various breathing, humming, and clicking sounds of different alien species. Dr. Hyo-jin activated a holographic display showing human cellular activity during healing. Traditional healing across known species follows one of 3 patterns, she continued. Instant energy-based repair, like our own crystal matrix regeneration. Biological replacement, where damaged parts are shed and regrown. Or technological enhancement, where artificial components substitute for biological ones. The display showed examples from various species. The Vellani crystal healing, the Cathara's ability to regrow entire limbs, and the mechanical augmentations used by the cybernetic Zontal. Humans follow none of these patterns, Dr. Hyo-jin announced. Instead, they employ what I have termed spite-based regeneration. Several alien delegates made questioning sounds. Elder Nim-Ara of the Nurali raised one of her glowing appendages. "Surely, you do not mean literal spite," she said. "That would be a psychological state, not a biological process." "That is exactly what I mean," Dr. Hyo-jin replied. "Observe." The hologram changed to show recordings of human healing incidents. First was Taimin's original cut, showing how his cellular repair had accelerated after he expressed annoyance at the injury. Then Sora's burn, which healed faster after she angrily declared her refusal to let it slow her down. "In every case we have observed," Dr. Hyo-jin explained, "human healing responds to emotional state. When humans express determination, defiance, or what they call stubbornness toward their injuries, their cellular repair systems accelerate." Dr. Min Ho, who was attending the presentation, shook his head with amusement. "You're making it sound more complicated than it is. We just don't like being told we can't do something even by our own injuries." "Precisely!" Dr. Hyo-jin exclaimed, her crystal body chiming with excitement. "You heal through biological defiance. Your tissue regenerates not because of energy input or conscious control, but because you refuse to accept that damage should limit your function." Commander Raxtar of the Zephyrians leaned forward with interest. "This explains their warrior capabilities. They heal through anger and determination. These are the qualities we value most in battle." "It is not anger," corrected Dr. Jin Woo, a human medical doctor who had arrived that morning. "It is more like practical optimism. We expect our bodies to heal, so we act as if they already have." Dr. Hyo-jin nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, this is the key insight. Humans do not wait for healing to occur before resuming normal function. They resume function immediately and trust their biology to catch up." The concept was causing heated discussion among the delegates. The Zontal representative, a being that was more machine than biological, found the idea fascinating. "Your healing is inefficient by design," it stated in its mechanical voice. Yet this inefficiency provides advantages we had not considered. What advantages? Asked Elder Nimara, still sounding skeptical. Dr. Minho stood up to answer. We don't need healing equipment. We don't need to find safe places to recover. We don't need to stop fighting or working just because we're hurt. Our healing happens in the background while we handle whatever crisis is happening. To demonstrate his point, he held up his hand. The small cut he had made during the previous demonstration was now just a thin pink line. This healed while I slept, ate, worked, and had conversations. I didn't have to think about it or do anything special. The practical implications were beginning to dawn on the alien delegates. Species that required healing trances, energy chambers, or complete rest during recovery were at a significant disadvantage compared to humans who could heal while remaining active. But surely this causes tremendous pain, Elder Nimara protested. How do you function while your tissues are actively repairing damage? Sora answered from her seat near the front. It does hurt sometimes, but humans are pretty good at working through discomfort when we need to. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Dr. Hyojin brought up new data on her display. Our scans show that human pain tolerance increases when they are focused on important tasks. They literally become less sensitive to injury when they have goals to accomplish. The body serves the mind, observed the Zontal delegate, instead of the mind serving the body's need for healing. That's actually a pretty good way to put it, Dr. Jinwoo agreed. We expect our bodies to keep up with what we want to do, not the other way around. The discussion was interrupted by an alert from the station's communication system. Captain Dongwoo's voice came through the speakers. All personnel, we have a situation in the docking bay. Medical assistance requested. Dr. Minho and Dr. Jinwoo immediately headed for the door, followed by several alien medical specialists. Dr. Hyojin's crystal body chimed with concern as they rushed through the corridors. In the docking bay, they found Lieutenant Nara sitting on a cargo container holding her left shoulder. Her uniform was torn and blood was visible through the fabric. What happened? Dr. Minho asked, immediately examining the injury. Stupid accident with the loading equipment, Nara replied, wincing, as he probed the wound. Sharp edge caught my shoulder when I was securing the cargo. Cut's not deep, but it's bleeding pretty good. The alien observers watched in fascination as Dr. Minho cleaned and bandaged the wound. Nara continued talking throughout the procedure, explaining how the accident had happened and what needed to be done to fix the loading equipment. You should rest while this heals, Elder Nimara suggested gently. Nara looked at her in confusion. Rest? It's just a cut. I have work to finish. She stood up, tested her range of motion, and nodded with satisfaction. Bandage feels secure. I can work around it. Dr. Hyojin was taking rapid notes as Nara returned to her duties. Despite having a fresh injury that was still bleeding through the bandage, the human lieutenant was planning to continue her normal activities. Observe the psychological response, Dr. Hyojin said to her colleagues. She is not concerned about the injury affecting her performance. She expects to adapt her activities to work around the damage. Because that's what humans do, Dr. Jinwoo explained. We work with what we have. Perfect health is nice, but it's not required for getting things done. As they returned to the conference room, the alien delegates were buzzing with new understanding. They had seen the human healing philosophy in action. Injury was an inconvenience to be managed, not a crisis requiring complete attention. The A-Spite hypothesis is confirmed, Dr. Hyojin announced as they resumed the presentation. Humans heal through a combination of biological stubbornness and practical determination. They refused to let injuries define their limitations. Commander, Raxtar was clearly impressed. We must learn this technique. Zephyrian warriors who could heal while fighting would be unstoppable. It's not a technique, Sora said with a laugh. It's just how we're built. You can't really learn to be human. But Dr. Hyojin wasn't so sure. Her research was suggesting that the connection between psychology and healing might be something other species could develop with proper training. Perhaps, she said thoughtfully, the galaxy has much to learn from human spite. The presentation ended with more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. Human healing represented a completely new approach to biological repair that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about medicine and recovery. As the delegates dispersed, they carried with them the revolutionary idea that healing didn't have to mean stopping everything else. Sometimes the best medicine was simply refusing to let wounds slow you down. General Kazaron of the Galactic Defense Force had seen many impressive things in his 40 years of military service, but nothing had prepared him for what he was watching through the observation deck's reinforced windows. Down in the training facility, 2 humans were demonstrating combat techniques to a mixed group of alien military observers. Captain Dongwu and Lieutenant Nara moved through the exercise with fluid precision, their bodies weaving between simulated enemy fire and obstacle courses designed to test the limits of various species' endurance. What made the demonstration remarkable wasn't their skill. It was that Lieutenant Nara was still healing from her shoulder injury from 3 days ago. The wounded one continues to function at full capacity, observed Commander Raxtar of the Zephyrians, his armored form leaning forward with interest. How is this possible? General Kazaron, a being that resembled a cross between an octopus and a tree, rustled his limbs thoughtfully. According to the medical reports, human healing doesn't require reduced activity. They maintain operational status throughout the recovery process. Dr. Hyojin stood nearby, her crystal body resonating with excited harmonics as she recorded data. Observe Lieutenant Nara's movement patterns. She has unconsciously adapted her combat style to protect the injured shoulder while maintaining effectiveness. On the training floor, Nara ducked under a simulated plasma blast and rolled behind cover. Her movements were slightly different from her usual style, favoring her uninjured side, but her overall performance remained impressive. Pain management through activity focus, Dr. Hyojin noted. The human brain prioritizes mission completion over injury awareness during high-stress situations. Captain Dongwu called out instructions to his partner as they advanced through the course. Nara, watch your 6. 3 targets left flank. Nara spun and engaged the simulated enemies. Without hesitation, her injured shoulder apparently forgotten in the heat of the exercise. The alien observers made various sounds of amazement. She fights as if unwounded, Commander Raxtar muttered. This is beyond what we thought possible. The exercise concluded with both humans completing the course in record time. As they walked off the training floor, Nara was finally showing signs of fatigue from her injury. She rolled her shoulder carefully and winced slightly. Good run, Dongwu said, offering her a water bottle. How's the shoulder holding up? Starting to ache a bit, Nara admitted, but nothing I can't handle. The bandage held up well. The casual way she discussed continuing to function while injured fascinated the watching aliens. General Kazaron descended to the training floor to speak with them directly. Lieutenant Nara, he said, his translated voice carrying formal military tones, our medical staff indicates you are still healing from significant tissue damage, yet you perform at peak efficiency. Nara shrugged with her good shoulder. It's not that bad, General. The cut's closing up nicely. Should be fine in another week or so. You will continue combat training during this week? General Kazaron asked. Of course, Nara replied, looking puzzled. Why wouldn't I? The question seemed to confuse her. The idea of stopping military duties because of a minor injury was apparently foreign to human thinking. Captain Dong Wu joined the conversation. General, if we stopped training every time someone got a cut or bruise, we'd never get anything done. Humans are built to keep going. General Kazaron's limbs writhed with what his species expressed as deep thought. The implications of human durability were staggering from a military perspective. Soldiers who could continue fighting while wounded, who could heal without requiring medical leave, who treated injuries as minor inconveniences rather than mission-ending disasters. I must speak with the Defense Council immediately, General Kazaron announced. This changes our understanding of combat effectiveness. Within hours, representatives from major military organizations across the galaxy had requested meetings with the human delegation. The research station's communication systems were overwhelmed with inquiries about human military capabilities. Commander Raxtar was the first to make a formal proposal. He approached Captain Dongwu that evening in the station's mess hall. The Zephyrian Empire offers lucrative contracts for human military advisors, he announced without preamble. Your species' ability to function while healing makes you ideal for extended combat operations. Dongwu nearly choked on his coffee. You want to hire us as soldiers? Not just soldiers, Commander Raxtar clarified. Elite operatives. Special forces who can continue missions despite injury. Your healing abilities make you nearly unstoppable. The conversation drew the attention of other diners, including several alien delegates who had been following the military implications of human healing. Dr. Minho looked up from his meal. We're not super soldiers. We just heal normally for humans. Normal for humans is extraordinary for everyone else, Commander Raxtar replied. A Zephyrian warrior injured in battle must withdraw for healing. A human warrior injured in battle continues fighting while the wound closes. Lieutenant Nara, who was eating with one hand while keeping her injured shoulder still, shook her head. It's not like we're immune to pain or damage. We just don't let minor injuries stop us from doing our jobs. But to the alien observers, this distinction was meaningless. What mattered was the practical result. Humans could maintain combat effectiveness under conditions that would disable other species. Elder Nim'ara of the Nurali entered the mess hall at that moment, her glowing form radiating distress. This discussion troubles me greatly. You speak of weaponizing what should be a medical condition requiring treatment. It's not a medical condition, Dr. Minho explained patiently. It's normal human biology. We've been healing this way for thousands of years. But you suffer unnecessarily, Elder Nim'ara insisted. We could provide healing technology to eliminate your pain and accelerate recovery. That's very kind, Nara said diplomatically. But we're not suffering. A little discomfort during healing is normal. It doesn't interfere with our lives. The philosophical divide was becoming clearer. Species like the Nurali saw human healing as a form of prolonged suffering that should be eliminated. Species like the Zephyrians saw it as a military advantage that should be exploited. General Kazaron returned with disturbing news from the Defense Council. 3 different hostile organizations have already begun attempting to recruit or capture humans for military purposes. Your healing abilities are being classified as strategic assets. The room fell silent. The humans looked at each other with concern. Capture? Sora asked quietly. Some groups believe that humans could be forced to serve as perfect soldiers, General Kazran explained. Beings who heal while fighting, who cannot be disabled by minor injuries, who maintain function under conditions that would incapacitate others. Dr. Hyo Jin's crystal body chimed with alarm. This is not what we intended when we began studying human healing. Captain Dongwu stood up, his expression serious. General, with respect, humans aren't weapons. We're people. Our healing isn't designed for war. It's designed for survival. But it makes you exceptionally effective in combat situations, Commander Rakstar pointed out. This cannot be ignored by military planners. Dr. Jin Woo joined the discussion. The problem is that you're only seeing one aspect of human healing. Yes, we can function while injured, but we also feel pain. We can be overwhelmed by severe damage, and we're not invulnerable. He pulled up his sleeve to show an old scar on his forearm. This is from a training accident years ago. It hurt. It took weeks to heal completely, and it left a permanent mark. We're tough, but we're not superhuman. The aliens studied the scar with interest. Most had never seen permanent evidence of healed damage before. The mark remains, observed one of the Cathara delegates. Your healing is imperfect. Exactly, Dr. Jinwoo said. We heal, but we remember our injuries. Every scar is a reminder to be more careful next time. Elder Neem Ara approached to examine the scar more closely. You carry the memory of pain in your flesh. I guess you could put it that way, Dr. Jinwoo agreed. Scars are part of being human. They show that we've lived, worked, and sometimes made mistakes. The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. General Kazran received a priority message, and his expression grew grave. A Drenari raiding fleet has been detected moving toward this system, he announced. They likely intend to capture the human research subjects for their own military program. The humans looked at each other with grim understanding. Their unique healing abilities had made them targets in a way they had never expected. How long? Until they arrive? Captain Dongwu asked, his voice shifting into military command mode. Approximately 18 hours, General Kazran replied. Nara stood up, unconsciously testing her injured shoulder. Then we'd better start preparing defenses. As the station went into emergency mode, the aliens watched the humans transform from research subjects into a coordinated military unit. Despite Nara's injury, despite their small numbers, despite being far from home, they immediately began planning their defense. It was, the aliens realized, exactly what they should have expected from a species that healed through pure, stubborn determination. General Kazran of the Galactic Defense Force had seen many impressive things in his 40 years of military service, but nothing had prepared him for what he was watching through the observation deck's reinforced windows. Down in the training facility, 2 humans were demonstrating combat techniques to a mixed group of alien military observers. Captain Dongwu and Lieutenant Nara moved through the exercise with fluid precision, their bodies weaving between simulated enemy fire and obstacle courses designed to test the limits of various species' endurance. What made the demonstration remarkable wasn't their skill. It was that Lieutenant Nara was still healing from her shoulder injury from 3 days ago. The wounded one continues to function at full capacity, observed Commander Rakstar of the Zephyrians, his armored form leaning forward with interest. How is this possible? General Kazran, a being that resembled a cross between an octopus and a tree, rustled his limbs thoughtfully. According to the medical reports, human healing doesn't require reduced activity. They maintain operational status throughout the recovery process. Dr. Hyo-jin stood nearby, her crystal body resonating with excited harmonics as she recorded data. Observe Lieutenant Nara's movement patterns. She has unconsciously adapted her combat style to protect the injured shoulder while maintaining effectiveness. On the training floor, Nara ducked under a simulated plasma blast and rolled behind cover. Her movements were slightly different from her usual style, favoring her uninjured side, but her overall performance remained impressive. Pain management through activity focus, Dr. Hyo-jin noted. The human brain prioritizes mission completion over injury awareness during high-stress situations. Captain Dongwoo called out instructions to his partner as they advanced through the course. Nara, watch your 6. 3 targets left flank. Nara spun and engaged the simulated enemies. Without hesitation, her injured shoulder apparently forgotten in the heat of the exercise. The alien observers made various sounds of amazement. She fights as if unwounded, Commander Raxtar muttered. This is beyond what we thought possible. The exercise concluded with both humans completing the course in record time. As they walked off the training floor, Nara was finally showing signs of fatigue from her injury. She rolled her shoulder carefully and winced slightly. Good run, Dongwoo said, offering her a water bottle. How's the shoulder holding up? Starting to ache a bit, Nara admitted. But nothing I can't handle. The bandage held up well. The casual way she discussed continuing to function while injured fascinated the watching aliens. General Kazaran descended to the training floor to speak with them directly. Lieutenant Nara, he said, his translated voice carrying formal military tones, our medical staff indicates you are still healing from significant tissue damage, yet you perform at peak efficiency. Nara shrugged with her good shoulder. It's not that bad, General. The cut's closing up nicely. Should be fine in another week or so. You will continue combat training during this week? General Kazaran asked. Of course, Nara replied, looking puzzled. Why wouldn't I? The question seemed to confuse her. The idea of stopping military duties because of a minor injury was apparently foreign to human thinking. Captain Dongwoo joined the conversation. General, if we stopped training every time someone got a cut or bruise, we'd never get anything done. Humans are built to keep going. General Kazaran's limbs writhed with what his species expressed as deep thought. The implications of human durability were staggering from a military perspective. Soldiers who could continue fighting while wounded, who could heal without requiring medical leave, who treated injuries as minor inconveniences rather than mission-ending disasters. I must speak with the Defense Council immediately, General Kazaran announced. This changes our understanding of combat effectiveness. Within hours, representatives from major military organizations across the galaxy had requested meetings with the human delegation. The research station's communication systems were overwhelmed with inquiries about human military capabilities. Commander Raxtar was the first to make a formal proposal. He approached Captain Dongwoo that evening in the station's mess hall. The Zephyrian Empire offers lucrative contracts for human military advisors, he announced without preamble. Your species' ability to function while healing makes you ideal for extended combat operations. Dongwoo nearly choked on his coffee. You want to hire us as soldiers? Not just soldiers, Commander Raxtar clarified. Elite operatives. Special forces who can continue missions despite injury. Your healing abilities make you nearly unstoppable. The conversation drew the attention of other diners, including several alien delegates who had been following the military implications of human healing. Dr. Minho looked up from his meal. We're not super soldiers. We just heal normally for humans. Normal for humans is extraordinary for everyone else, Commander Raxtar replied. A Zephyrian warrior injured in battle must withdraw for healing. A human warrior injured in battle continues fighting while the wound closes. Lieutenant Nara, who was eating with one hand while keeping her injured shoulder still, shook her head. It's not like we're immune to pain or damage. We just don't let minor injuries stop us from doing our jobs. But to the alien observers, this distinction was meaningless. What mattered was the practical result. Humans could maintain combat effectiveness under conditions that would disable other species. Elder Nim'ara of the Nurali entered the mess hall at that moment, her glowing form radiating distress. This discussion troubles me greatly. You speak of weaponizing what should be a medical condition requiring treatment. It's not a medical condition, Dr. Minho explained patiently. It's normal human biology. We've been healing this way for thousands of years. But you suffer unnecessarily, Elder Nim'ara insisted. We could provide healing technology to eliminate your pain and accelerate recovery. That's very kind, Nara said diplomatically. But we're not suffering. A little discomfort during healing is normal. It doesn't interfere with our lives. The philosophical divide was becoming clearer. Species like the Nurali saw human healing as a form of prolonged suffering that should be eliminated. Species like the Zephyrians saw it as a military advantage that should be exploited. General Kazaron returned with disturbing news from the Defense Council. 3 different hostile organizations have already begun attempting to recruit or capture humans for military purposes. Your healing abilities are being classified as strategic assets. The room fell silent. The humans looked at each other with concern. Capture? Sora asked quietly. Some groups believe that humans could be forced to serve as perfect soldiers, General Kazaron explained. Beings who heal while fighting, who cannot be disabled by minor injuries, who maintain function under conditions that would incapacitate others. Dr. Hyo Jin's crystal body chimed with alarm. This is not what we intended when we began studying human healing. Captain Dongwu stood up, his expression serious. General, with respect, humans aren't weapons. We're people. Our healing isn't designed for war. It's designed for survival. But it makes you exceptionally effective in combat situations, Commander Raxtar pointed out. This cannot be ignored by military planners. Dr. Jinwoo joined the discussion. The problem is that you're only seeing one aspect of human healing. Yes, we can function while injured, but we also feel pain. We can be overwhelmed by severe damage, and we're not invulnerable. He pulled up his sleeve to show an old scar on his forearm. This is from a training accident years ago. It hurt. It took weeks to heal completely, and it left a permanent mark. We're tough, but we're not superhuman. The aliens studied the scar with interest. Most had never seen permanent evidence of healed damage before. The mark remains, observed one of the Cathara delegates. Your healing is imperfect. Exactly, Dr. Jinwoo said. We heal, but we remember our injuries. Every scar is a reminder to be more careful next time. Elder Nim'ara approached to examine the scar more closely. You carry the memory of pain in your flesh. I guess you could put it that way, Dr. Jinwoo agreed. Scars are part of being human. They show that we've lived, worked, and sometimes made mistakes. The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. General Kazaron received a priority message, and his expression grew grave. A Drenari raiding fleet has been detected moving toward this system, he announced. They likely intend to capture the human research subjects for their own military program. The humans looked at each other with grim understanding. Their unique healing abilities had made them targets in a way they had never expected. "How long? Until they arrive?" Captain Dongwu asked, his voice shifting into military command mode. "Approximately 18 hours," General Kazran replied. Nara stood up, unconsciously testing her injured shoulder. "Then we'd better start preparing defenses." As the station went into emergency mode, the aliens watched the humans transform from research subjects into a coordinated military unit. Despite Nara's injury, despite their small numbers, despite being far from home, they immediately began planning their defense. It was, the aliens realized, exactly what they should have expected from a species that healed through pure, stubborn determination. Ambassador Kyung-soo had handled many difficult diplomatic situations during his career, but nothing had prepared him for the current crisis. The emergency session of the Galactic Trade Council was supposed to be a routine negotiation about mining rights in the Centauri system. Instead, it had become a heated debate about human biology and its implications for interstellar relations. The trouble had started when Ambassador Kyung-soo, frustrated by hours of circular arguments and stalling, tactics from the Drenari delegation, had made what he thought was a simple gesture to demonstrate human resolve. He had taken out a small knife, made a shallow cut across his palm, and declared, "This wound will heal through determination alone, just as our peoples can overcome any obstacle through persistence and cooperation." The reaction had been immediate and catastrophic. The Drenari delegates had fled the room in terror. The Neurali representatives had gone into what appeared to be shock, their glowing forms flickering with distress. Even the usually calm Villani had made sounds like breaking crystal. Now, 6 hours later, Kyung-soo sat in an emergency diplomatic session trying to explain to 37 different species why he had intentionally injured himself during peace negotiations. "Ambassador," said Chancellor Vextai of the Galactic Council, her forearms gesturing with obvious agitation, "your actions have been interpreted as either a threat of violence or evidence of severe mental instability." Kyung-soo looked down at his bandaged palm, which was healing normally and no longer causing him any discomfort. To him, the gesture had been symbolic, a demonstration of human resilience and determination. To the aliens, it had apparently been something far more disturbing. "I was trying to illustrate a point about human nature," he explained carefully. "We don't give up easily even when we're hurt. Our bodies heal while we continue working toward our goals. You deliberately damaged yourself," stated the Zephyrian military attaché, Commander Raxtar. "While impressive from a warrior's perspective, this behavior is considered irrational by most civilized species." Dr. Hyojin had been called in as an expert witness to explain human healing behavior. Her crystal form resonated with diplomatic harmony tones as she addressed the assembly. "Honorable delegates, Ambassador Kyung-soo's action, while surprising, is consistent with human psychological patterns we have observed. Humans often use their own healing abilities as metaphors for resilience and recovery." "But why injure yourself to make a point?" asked Elder Nimara of the Neurali. "Surely words would have been sufficient." Ambassador Kyung-soo tried to explain. "In human culture, we sometimes say actions speak louder than words. I wanted to show, not just tell, that humans don't let obstacles stop us." The explanation seemed to confuse the aliens even more. The concept of deliberately injuring oneself to prove a philosophical point was apparently unprecedented in galactic diplomacy. "So, Ra, who had been observing from the gallery, requested permission to speak. "If I may, honorable delegates, I think there's been a cultural misunderstanding." Chancellor Vexiti gestured for her to continue. "Humans don't see minor injuries the same way other species do," Sora explained. "To us, a small cut like the ambassador made is temporary and insignificant. We might compare it to getting dirt on your clothes or having your hair messed up by wind." The comparison seemed to help some of the delegates understand, but others remained skeptical. "You equate physical damage with cosmetic inconvenience?" asked the Zontal representative, its mechanical voice expressing confusion. "For minor injuries, yes," Ambassador Kyung-Soo confirmed. "This cut will be gone in a few days. To me, it's not meaningfully different from a temporary stain or a bent piece of equipment that can be fixed." Dr. Jin Woo, who had also been called to testify, added his perspective. "Humans have been dealing with small injuries for thousands of years. We've evolved to treat them as normal parts of life, not medical emergencies." Commander Raxtar leaned forward with interest. "So when you injured yourself, you were demonstrating that humans consider damage to be temporary and manageable?" "Exactly," Kyung-Soo said, relieved that someone was understanding his intent. "I was showing that obstacles, even painful ones, are things we work through, not things that stop us." The session was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Drenari homeworld. Their Supreme Council was demanding an explanation for what they called the human ambassador's violent threat display. Chancellor Vexti sighed with frustration. "Ambassador Kyung-Soo, the Drenari are interpreting your action as a warning that humans will inflict violence upon themselves and others to achieve their goals." "That's not what I meant at all," Kyung-Soo protested. "I was trying to show peaceful determination, not violence." Dr. Hyojin activated a holographic display showing human healing data. "Perhaps this will help clarify the situation. Observe that Ambassador Kyung-Soo's injury is healing at an accelerated rate due to his focus on resolving this diplomatic crisis. The scans showed that the cut on his palm was closing faster than baseline human healing rates, driven by his determination to fix the misunderstanding he had created. His healing responds to his desire to succeed in diplomacy," Dr. Hyojin explained. "This is not aggressive behavior. It is the human body supporting the mind's peaceful intentions." Elder Nimara studied the data with growing understanding. His body is actively repairing itself because he is focused on diplomatic resolution? Exactly, Dr. Jin Woo confirmed. Human healing accelerates when we're determined to accomplish important goals. The ambassador's injury is healing faster because he wants to succeed at diplomacy. This revelation seemed to shift the mood in the chamber. What had appeared to be reckless or threatening behavior was revealed to be an unconscious demonstration of commitment to peaceful resolution. Commander Raxtar made what sounded like approving growls. The human ambassador injured himself to prove his dedication to the negotiations. This is actually quite honorable. But dangerous, Elder Nimara added quickly. What if other species attempted similar demonstrations? Most beings cannot heal through determination alone. Ambassador Kyung-Soo realized the broader implications of his action. I need to make a formal statement clarifying that this is specifically human behavior, not something other species should attempt. Dr. Sora suggested a different approach. Maybe instead of focusing on the injury, we should focus on what it represents. The ambassador was showing that humans don't let temporary setbacks stop us from working toward our goals. The emergency session continued for several more hours, with human medical experts explaining the psychology behind Ambassador Kyung-soo's action, and alien delegates gradually understanding that what seemed like self-destructive behavior was actually a cultural expression of determination. By the end of the day, the Galactic Council had issued a formal statement explaining that the ambassador's action was a cultural demonstration of human resilience, not a threat or sign of instability. The Drenari delegation agreed to return to negotiations, though they requested that future human diplomatic expressions avoid physical demonstrations. Ambassador Kyung-soo unwrapped his bandage that evening to find that the cut had already healed to a thin pink line. His determination to resolve the diplomatic crisis had indeed accelerated his recovery, just as Dr. Hyo-jin had predicted. "Next time," he said to Sora as they reviewed the day's events, "I think I'll stick to verbal metaphors." "Probably wise," Sora agreed. "Though you did prove an important point about how human healing reflects our psychological state." The incident became known in diplomatic circles as the Kyung-soo demonstration and led to new protocols for cultural sensitivity in interspecies negotiations. More importantly, it helped the galaxy understand that human healing wasn't just about biology. It was about the fundamental human refusal to let temporary obstacles prevent the achievement of important goals. Dr. Hyo-jin would later write that the ambassador's action, while diplomatically problematic, provided perfect evidence for her theories about human spite-based healing. Even when the obstacle was their own injury, humans healed faster when they were determined not to let it slow them down. 1 year after Dr. Tae-min had first cut his hand on a Vellani crystal, the research station had been transformed into the galaxy's premier center for what was now officially called Integrated Healing Sciences, the first annual interspecies medical conference was being held in the station's greatly expanded conference facilities, with representatives from over 200 different species attending. Dr. Tae-min stood at the podium, looking out at the diverse audience of beings who had gathered to learn about the revolutionary healing techniques that had emerged from studying human biology. His once injured hand, now completely healed except for a barely visible scar line, held the notes for his keynote address. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," he began. "A year ago, I was just a xenobiologist who was careless with sharp objects. Today, we're here to discuss how a simple accident led to discoveries that are changing medicine throughout the galaxy." The audience included familiar faces from that first encounter. Dr. Hyo-jin sat in the front row, her crystal body resonating with harmonious tones. Commander Rakstar represented the Military Applications Division. Elder Nim Ara led a delegation, focused on compassionate healing practices. Dr. Jin Woo and Dr. Min Ho had established the new psychosomatic medicine department. "The journey began," Tae-min continued, "when our Vellani colleagues observed something that seemed impossible to them, a species that could heal while remaining active and functional. What they saw as biological defiance, we simply saw as Tuesday." Gentle laughter rippled through the audience, a sound that would have been impossible a year ago when most species couldn't understand human humor about injury. Dr. Hyo-jin had been invited to present her research findings. She approached the podium with data crystals containing a year's worth of comparative healing studies. "The spite hypothesis has evolved," she announced. "What we initially interpreted as anger-driven healing is actually something more sophisticated. Determination-enhanced recovery. Humans heal faster, not because they are angry at their injuries, but because they refuse to let injuries interfere with their goals." The data she presented showed remarkable results. Alien species who had learned human-inspired healing techniques were showing 20–40% improvement in recovery times. More importantly, they were maintaining higher activity levels during healing, leading to better overall health outcomes. SOARA took the stage next, representing the Technology Integration Program. We've successfully combined human psychological techniques with advanced alien healing technology. The results exceed what either approach could achieve alone. She demonstrated with a volunteer from the audience, a Cathara scientist who had accidentally injured his manipulator appendage during a chemistry experiment. Using a combination of Vellani crystal healing technology and human-inspired determination focus, the injury healed in minutes rather than the hours it would have taken with technology alone. The key, Sora explained, is teaching the patient to actively participate in their healing rather than passively receiving treatment. When beings focus their mental energy on recovery while technology provides the biological support, healing becomes dramatically more effective. Captain Dongwu and Lieutenant Na-Ra presented the military applications research. Na-Ra's shoulder injury from the year before had healed completely, leaving her stronger and more resilient than before. What we've learned, Dongwu explained, is that human healing isn't about being tough or ignoring pain. It's about maintaining focus on your mission while your body handles the biological repairs. Na-Ra added, "Every species has some form of natural healing. What humans do differently is trust our bodies to heal while we continue working toward our goals." The conference included practical workshops where alien medical professionals could learn human-inspired healing techniques. Elder Nim-Ara had become an unexpected advocate for these methods. "Initially, I believed human healing involved unnecessary suffering," she admitted during her presentation. "I now understand that what I interpreted as suffering was actually active participation in the healing process." She demonstrated a technique she had developed for her own species, a form of meditation that combined neurali energy healing with human-style goal-focused determination. The results showed that neurali could heal others more effectively when they channeled their energy through purposeful intention rather than passive sympathy. Dr. Minho had established what became known as the Stubborn Recovery Protocol, a set of psychological techniques that could be adapted for different species to enhance their natural healing abilities. "The protocol has 3 basic elements," he explained to a workshop audience. "First, set a specific goal that requires full health to achieve. Second, maintain focus on that goal during healing. Third, trust your biology to support your intentions." The techniques were being adapted across the galaxy. Zephyrian warriors learned to heal faster by focusing on their duty to protect others. Zontal cyborgs discovered that their mechanical healing systems worked better when directed by conscious intention. Even the peaceful Cathara found that their regenerative abilities improved when they concentrated on their research goals during recovery. The conference's highlight came when Dr. Hyojin made an unexpected demonstration. During her final presentation, she accidentally cut herself on the same crystal formation that had injured Taemin a year earlier. Instead of immediately healing the injury with her species' instant crystal matrix repair, she paused and looked at the cut thoughtfully. "I refuse to let this injury interrupt my presentation," she announced, echoing words she had heard from humans countless times. The audience watched in amazement as she continued her presentation while the cut remained open. For the first time in Vellani history, one of their kind was allowing an injury to heal gradually while maintaining normal function. "Observe," she said, holding up her injured appendage. "I am experiencing what humans call dealing with it. The injury exists, but it does not control my actions. By the end of her presentation, the cut had partially closed on its own, not through energy healing, but through the same gradual biological processes that humans used. She had successfully demonstrated cross-species adaptation of human healing. Philosophy. The audience erupted in what passed for applause among dozens of different species, a cacophony of chirps, chimes, growls, and harmonics that somehow conveyed universal appreciation. As the conference concluded, Taemin found himself back where everything had started, examining Vellani crystal formations in the research lab. This time he was more careful with the sharp edges. Dr. Hyo-jin joined him, her recently injured appendage healing normally without technological assistance. "How does it feel?" Taemin asked, gesturing toward her cut. "Uncomfortable," she admitted, "but also empowering. I understand now why humans find strength in accepting temporary discomfort for greater purposes." Sora entered the lab carrying the final conference reports. The Galactic Medical Council has officially adopted integrated healing sciences as a standard practice. Every major medical facility in the galaxy will be offering human-inspired healing programs within the next year. Dr. Jinwoo looked up from his research notes. Who would have thought that human stubbornness would become a medical breakthrough? "It's not stubbornness," Taemin corrected with a smile. "It's just refusing to let the universe tell us what we can't do." Dr. Hyo-jin's crystal body chimed with what had become her signature sound of pleased understanding. Yes, humans heal through biological optimism, the expectation that your body will support whatever you determine to accomplish. As the day ended, the research station continued its work developing new healing techniques that combined the best aspects of human psychology with advanced alien technology. The galaxy had learned that healing wasn't just about repairing damage. It was about maintaining hope and determination while the repair happened. The humans who had started as subjects of curiosity were now recognized as teachers and innovators. Their unique approach to healing had given the galaxy a new understanding of the connection between mind and body, between intention and biology, between stubborn determination and miraculous recovery. Dr. Taemin looked at the faint scar on his palm, the mark that had started everything. In human terms, it was just evidence of an old accident. In galactic terms, it had become a symbol of the revolutionary idea that healing could be enhanced not through technology alone, but through the simple refusal to let temporary obstacles prevent the achievement of important goals. The galaxy now had a new medical philosophy, one that recognized the power of what humans had always simply called not giving up. It was, everyone agreed, a very human gift to share with the stars.